Sometimes I might get a lead for $5, but ultimately those ones are mostly free leads. Like they don't pay anything to come in. And I'm not even certain at this point if they paid to stay or if they're already gone off the list.
I think that what happens a lot of times is when there's a bigger number of things is like, yes, you get really, really visible, but it's kind of just like a barrage of information.
Our individual audiences are also grateful for this. And I think that's just a testament to when you network well, the result is greater than us as individuals. And I think that's the power of really great networking.
You get that trust more quickly when somebody else recommends you. Basically a nod towards the concept of collaboration. We'll see what happens further down the road as far as how that turns into the quality leads.
You want to collaborate with people who serve your same target client, your same niche, if you will, in a complementary way or in a non-competitive way.
Just how good is it when you get paid to get new leads on your email list while collaborating with online friends who serve the same niche that you do in a non-competitive or complementary way? Well, in this episode, there are 4 guests, and that's what we did is we all did an email collaboration together where we discounted some of our lower ticket offers to $1 and we cross-promoted in email, and it worked quite well. In this episode, we're going to break down how that collaboration worked, how we pulled it off, what we would change, and what we would keep the same. This is a first of its kind, so listen till the end and you will get some super valuable insight about how you could pull off a collaboration like this on your own. Let me tell you, I'm rethinking the way I'm doing things in my business, and I want to do more of this collaboration. It went really well for me. Without further ado, you can tune into the episode and listen to Kelly, a visibility coach, Lacey, a funnel building strategist, Allison, an email marketing strategist, Sam, a sales copywriter, and of course, me, a Facebook and Instagram ads strategist, as we break down our collaboration, tell you what we like, what we didn't like, and if you want to see the offers that each of us contributed to the collaboration, those are also in below.
Hey, you guys, what's really fun is making a little bit of extra cash while getting people onto your list. And that's exactly what we did together, right?
Yeah, it was really good. So we're going to do round robin and see how much we made during this collaboration and then break down all the juicy numbers. So starting with me, I brought in 34 people onto my list for a total revenue of 247. And yeah, I never had something before where I got paid to add leads to my list.
QUÄY.jo, I think it's pretty evident who you are in the room, but also do a little intro quick.
All right, so quick intro. Hi, my name's QUÄY.jo. I am a Facebook and Instagram ad manager for online course creators.
My name's Sam. I'm a copywriter, and for this collaboration, I contributed the Clickable AF CTAs, and I made $63 off of this collaboration.
Hi, my name's Lacey. I'm a funnel building coach, and my dollar promo this time around was a masterclass I did on high converting lead magnet funnels, and I made a total of $153. We literally just did these numbers and I've already forgot, and we had some fun doing math by 9. So I'm going to hand it over to Allison now for her numbers and update.
Hi, I'm Allison Hardy. I am an email marketing strategist. I brought 25 new people onto my email list for a grand total of $62 in sales. And my digital product was Subject Line Magic, which helps you to create subject lines that actually get opened and read.
And I am Kelly Sinclair. I'm a visibility coach. And this collaboration brought me 53 new email subscribers and a total of $158. And my product that I contributed is called the Ultimate Roadmap to Visibility. It's a mini audio course to teach you how to get visible without relying on social media. And I think one thing that we need to say to our listeners is the concept for this was it was a dollar collaboration. So we all took a digital product that we sold for more money and gave a coupon code that lasted 5 days, and we discounted our price, our products down to $1. And then we also each had choices to, have an order bump or whatnot in the funnel. So that's where the revenue came from. And I just want to say thank you to Sam and Allison for bringing us all together for this because I thought it was really fun.
Me too. And I have to update my numbers. I have to do a quick update because I'm like, this is terrible. Lacey again. So 27 was the amount of people I brought in, and I made $108. So there we go.
That's amazing. And like, while these numbers aren't life-changing numbers, right? It's really impressive, one, that we were able to all collaborate and pull this off in a matter of 5 days. And also, I'm immediately thinking of QUÄY.jo and what you do for a living as a Facebook ad strategist and what it typically costs to get people onto your list versus having people pay to get onto your list. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of really interesting concepts in this where, again, like acknowledging that I'm going on the internet and talking about making $63 in a week, but that there's a lot of ideas behind this that I think our listeners can take away.
So let's start off with talking about, and Sam, you might want to lead here. What did you do to pull this off? I really did enjoy the fact that, like, you being a copywriter actually had the equivalent of email swipe copy. And maybe you can go into a little bit about that because I feel like you put a lot into organizing this. And I will add in and say, well, yeah, the alternative is you could run ads, but then how much are you paying per ad or like per lead? And if somebody's not running like a low ticket offer funnel, a self-liquidating offer funnel, then, for example, me right now, like my leads to get somebody on the list with my ads are like around $6. So 34 leads times $6, my calculator tells me, or your magical math that you were doing on your fingers would say like $204. But instead I made $204 or $247. So this has been great.
Yeah. And when you say that that's your cost per lead, is that your cost per paid lead, or that's simply to get somebody onto an email list with something free?
Paid lead. As we speak right now, well, today the funnel's off because you, Sam, have been so kind to work on some sales emails for me and the webpage. Not free, by the way, but very, very, very well worth the service. So the funnel's off right now, but yeah, I'm running paid ads to a lead magnet, and they've been hovering right around $7 a lead.
I've always been a person that likes to run ads because I don't typically like to be out there on social media a lot. So, or I might not have the time. So I might throw some money into ads. And of course, we have like our warm audiences and stuff. But when you start doing a promotion this way and you're leveraging each other's audiences that are essentially already warmed up by you or ourselves, that means the credibility is there. We might have people jump in more, and they might even be warmer or hotter, like right from the start when they join our list. And obviously, we're not paying that cost per lead, and we're making $1 for every person that joins. So I personally love that because my lead cost has been, sometimes I might get a lead for $5. I might get a lead for $10, but ultimately those ones are mostly free leads. Like they don't pay anything to come in. And I'm not even certain at this point if they paid to stay or if they're already gone off the list.
So let me take a step back here also and explain. So Kelly, you had explained that this was a dollar swap. So we all took our things that people have paid for in the past, made a ridiculous coupon code that made them each $1. And then we each, so there's 5 of us here, we each sent 4 individual emails to our list promoting the other people's and then did a roundup at the end. But the concept here was to make it really cohesive. So these aren't just 4 random people that I found on the internet. I had originally reached out to Allison and said, hey, listen, we have really similar audiences and we actually do really similar things. You do more of the strategy behind emails. I do a lot of the writing behind emails, but there's a lot of crossover there. So there's a lot of value that are similar audiences. And I would say like, and we can talk more about numbers here in a minute, like relatively similar audience sizes with like a very big asterisk. But I had originally come to Allison and said, hey, let's do this dollar swap. And Allison said, let's do it a little bit bigger. Let's bring a couple more people in here because sure, we do things that are really similar, but like if Allison and I are just talking about emails, how do people get onto our lists? And that's where QUÄY.jo and Kelly came into the conversation of, okay, but QUÄY.jo helps people get onto your email list with something paid. Kelly, it's sometimes paid, sometimes not, but like ultimately focusing on like PR and non-social media strategies. So kind of 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. And then Lacey, being a launch specialist, like came into the conversation too, because then when people are on your list and you're sending them emails, how are we doing it more strategically? So that's where the 5 of us really came together, is like, we can also offer this like really linear trajectory for people of what happens when you first get seen, get onto somebody's list, and then how do you maximize your leads once they're on your list? And that's like the concept behind all of this that was really the impetus for this group specifically.
That's what I thought was really cohesive about it, Sam, was that there was a pathway that we were sharing like 5 steps along, and they were like steps that we could kind of hop between a couple of them, but generally you might want to take all 5 of those steps. And therefore, I mean, I think it would be curious to dig into like who bought and did they buy like all 4 or 5 things? You know, if we cross-referenced our actual buyer list to each other, just to see that, like if they saw the full picture, because that did make it really seamless for the emails to tell a story and the order in which we kind of chose to send them. I think a lot of people chose to send my product out on the first day because it was like, the how do you find people? How do you get seen? How do you get yourself out there? And then what do you do next step, next step, next step? And obviously I didn't send mine out. So I had to flip my order around a little bit and try and create some different stories within my emails that I sent out. But it was I think it was pretty easy to wrap your head around. So for our audience, easy for them to follow as well, to see what was all being offered and how this was like not just a bunch of cool, awesome discounts, but like a really great suite of materials for them.
It was very well thought out. And I know, Allison, like you are obviously like a bit of a bundle queen. You host very large bundles sometimes. So this was quite smaller. So like what would you have to say about like the different size, I guess, of bundles?
I think that what happens a lot of times is when there's a bigger number of things, is like, yes, you get really, really visible, but it's kind of just like a barrage of information. So I find that a lot of people will download a lot of things, but then they don't necessarily implement the things or like consume the things. Whereas this, there was 5 products total, and they were very niched and very specific. So I think that what I'm really interested to see is, while the lead generation is significantly smaller than participating in like a huge, massive bundle, what the quality of that lead is. Because like my big focus for this year was like a lot of email list growth, and looking into like 2025, it's like, okay, like how can we keep that type of growth, but like have a better quality lead come in through that growth. So I'm really interested, just on a personal note, as to like the quality of these leads and how having the smaller, more niched, more specific, more like here's step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bundle will increase, or will that pay off in getting better quality leads onto the list?
Yeah, and if we look at that, because we do have all of our data pulled, if we can quantify the quality with numbers, right? So we brought everybody in at $1, and I personally messed up and didn't have an order bump, but you guys all did. And you had what I think are really impressive rates for your order bumps, because I had 63 opt-ins and made $63. Some of y'all only had, I think somebody said 27 opt-ins, but made like $100 and something. That was Lacey. So tell us a little bit about like not just the numbers now, but the difference between, say, bundles that you've been in the past and what those conversion rates to your order bumps look like with the $1 versus $0.
Yeah, so this is Lacey. I mean, for me with this order bump, I think this might be the first time I had it on the same page, like where you could add it to the cart before you checked out. Like I might have had an upsell or something, or a tripwire, like once they got to the thank you page. So this time around, I actually put it right at the cart checkout, which I found for me converted a lot better. So that was something that I personally noticed. I was super excited because and I'm not sure exactly how everyone decided what product they were throwing in, but these were actually new products for me. They're just like recently released, and I didn't have a lot of history to say what their what they were going to land like. I did some polls with my audience before I created them to say, hey, what are you guys interested in? And that's what I created things off of. But I didn't actually have it out there enough where I could confidently say, people are going to buy this from me. And so when the data started coming in and I saw every day I'm opening up my email, there's a new sale, there's a new upsell. Like I was just excited. And I think this has probably been one of the best bundles or collabs that I've been part of in a long time.
Yeah. I was thrilled with the bump purchases. I wonder if it's a little bit like once somebody's got their credit card in, it's just like literally like being at the checkout at the store, and it's like, well, just put it on the cart, right? And it's easier than if they don't have to put their credit card in and it's there. Like they have to make a decision to like get the credit card out, but they've already done that in this case. So even though like my $1 thing, and then I had a $7 order bump, and it's just like right there with a big giant box around it. It's really just like an extension of like content wise. It's similar to what's inside of the course, but like more detail on a specific element. So it's interesting to see who is interested in. It's a PR and media pitching mini workshop. And I actually have an interview that I did with a radio show host, like someone in the media. So it is a very good product. So I was really glad that lots of people took up on that. I think the percentage was like 25% of the people who bought it bought the order bump, 28%. I think that's good, right?
That's really
Yeah.
good. Do you know what your conversion rate to your order bump usually is? Like with
Oh,
freebies and bundles?
like barely any. However, I mean, I've sold that order bump at $27 and $7, but not many. Certainly, I have never sold as many total as I did in this 5 days.
I'll share that when, as an ads manager, frequently working with folks who have funnels like this, we're running ads to say like a low ticket offer between $17 and $47 with an order bump and an upsell. What I've seen is about 15% uptake on the order bump is a solid conversion rate. Like, 30% is definitely above average and you're doing something right. And then with somewhere around like 5 to 10% for an upsell, it's good.
QUqədjo, when you talk about 15%, is that typically like a warm audience, or could that be a cold audience too? Or
Definitely cold. And it's a range, right? But like generally when I'm working with my clients, I tell them 15. If we see only 5% are taking, the order bump, that means something's wrong. And it's either time to change the messaging in a major way or change the pricing on the order bump or change the alignment of the order bump. And when I say alignment, I mean like alignment with the core, with the main offer. But like usually I can expect with cold traffic, we should be getting 15%. If I'm hitting 25%, I'm like, God, this is really, really good.
I'm also curious to see, I know QUqədjo, when we were talking, you were pulling up some of our pages and stuff. Like I noticed that some of us chose to have like a sales page as the link we were promoting. Others might have went directly to the checkout page itself, but still the checkout page looks very much like a sales page. And I think that just shows like the establishedness of our businesses. Like if that is something that, other people are considering to do, like what might they want to consider as they're, going to look at doing something like this?
Well, let's look at Sam's page, shall we?
Sure, let's do it, because I can tell you some things that I didn't do well and some things that I did well.
Okay.
First thing that I didn't do well was not having an order bump on the page at all. I'm looking at your guys' numbers and I'm like, what a silly oversight on my part, but that's okay.
I do like.
You want me to go ahead? I can add
go ahead.
in here.
Yeah.
All right. So this I found interesting because if we were, and maybe QUqədjo, you could talk about this too. If we were putting this to an ad, would you want to go directly to a checkout, or are you going to put them to a sales page? And I think the fact that we were selling, say, via email, and our list, and we were working off the credibility that we had with others, it was okay to do like a a checkout version of a page. And I know, Sam, you're a sales conversion copywriter. So obviously this stuff comes up in some of your work too. So I was just overall curious as a funnel expert, like how each of us handled the funnel side of things.
Yeah, I've never had a sales page for this offer. It's always only been a checkout page because it's such a simple offer that I just wanted to reduce the friction between like getting to the sale when it's a pretty cut and dry thing, because it's usually only 47. So to bring it down to $1 and then send somebody to a sales page and like send them on a wild goose chase, for me just didn't, it's just never made sense to have like a full-blown sales page for something that's so low ticket.
I agree. I would say that most of the clients that I run SLO funnels for, they have what I would call a super checkout page, which is they start with a checkout page and then they build it out like a miniature sales page or a full-blown sales page so that um, any of the buy links on that sales page act more like our traditional anchor links. And all that means is you click on the link and it slides straight down to the checkout rather than you have to wait for another page to load. And now you're on a new page with slightly different messaging or the same messaging, but condensed. I've seen that work well for the simple truth that every time, unfortunately, when you have somebody click on a button, you lose a percentage of that traffic because the new page has to load and we all have the attention span of squirrels apparently, or goldfish. I've heard that thrown around too, but without fail, the one thing that you can guarantee is, at least in Facebook ads world and Instagram ads world, is when you click on a link, you lose a percentage of people. And so I'm for the super sales page or the super checkout page. Sorry.
And so I'm curious because Lacey put together this really beautiful spreadsheet with numbers for us. Like what are some good standards as far as like conversion of a checkout page, right? So we got the traffic there and then we each can see what our conversion rate was directly from that checkout page. Like, but what's even a good standard? I don't these are not my area of expertise. I'm just like bring people and then we'll see what the people do later. That's I was experimenting with.
If and Allison might have some thoughts on this too. From my experience, if we're selling directly in email, we might expect like maybe a sales conversion of 1 to 2%, like to a list. So I don't know if we hit on that. We do have a spreadsheet that gives us an idea of how many people we hit between everybody's audiences. And then I think my rate is 0.25%. So we might say, well, that's a little bit low, but the fact that a portion of these people maybe knew who I was, maybe I'm happy with that. Like, that is the numbers that I have learned to go off is like 1 to 2% when we're selling directly through email. And obviously that depends on the price of the thing as well.
So mine is 0.0049%.
0 point.
Seems really bad, but I was really happy with my numbers. So I don't really
Yeah.
think I understand that number.
Yeah, there might be a math issue here, Kelly, because I'm
Wait,
just
do
going
we
to
need
look.
to just hit the percentage and then it goes like that?
What did you do, QUÄY.jo? You did something.
Oh, you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
No,
Yours, yes, Kelly,
Control
that
Z.
makes sense. Yours should be like that.
I
That
think
would make more sense.
I think that should read 4.9%, right? No?
Yeah,
Yeah.
0.5%, Kelly. I think there was a math error on yours.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, I
because
thought I
you
had
had
a
more
good
sales
number.
than me.
There's also like
This
a
is why I
little
don't
bit
like
of
math.
there's a like too good to be true factor, I think, to a dollar swap as well that could affect it to bringing it lower. Also, it wasn't a proper launch. Like I think that 1 to 2% conversion that number tends to come from a launch where it like the idea, and this comes from like 2019 before certain things were true, is that if you live launch to a warm list, you can expect to convert at about 2%. This wasn't necessarily a launch because this is just one rapid fire email per offer to 4 to 5 completely separate audiences. So like I feel like that 0.5% on average or whatever that number came out to be is actually pretty strong. Also, we were reaching about 10,000 people and there were about 200 total sales or opt-ins, which comes to about 1.8%. So honestly, I feel like those numbers are pretty strong. And I think it would be different if it was, say, two of us sent 3 emails about each other and it was more like launch style. I think those numbers would go up. And that's part of why we chose to do a roundup email at the end as well. And we each sent I know I just sent you 4 things. We have about a 30 to 50% open rate, which means 50 to 70% of people never even saw everything. So here's a reminder email. And I think that was really helpful because I think we all saw a bit of a burst on the last day as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think go ahead, Allison.
I was also
gonna
gonna
throw it to Allison, yeah.
I was also going to say that while this suite of products makes sense, right? Like logically, it makes sense. There are people on my list who come to me for email marketing, right? They don't come to me for what QUÄY.jo does. So me sending an email about like QUÄY.jo's stuff and everyone else's stuff may not, they may not be, they're not interested in. That's not what they want from me. So I think also it's an interesting like analysis of like, what does our audiences want? What do they want? What is like, what else can they get from me that would make sense for them? So like people may not be ready for paid advertising yet, and that's okay, but we have that offer for them if they are. So I think also like looking at like ideal clients and like again, going back to the quality of lead, I feel like I'm like obsessed with this idea, but like it's just like looking at the different offers that we had and like what percentage of our audiences did take us up on it. So like, does that make sense for my audience? You know what? Am I making any sense or am I talking in circles here?
No, you're making very good sense. What I hear is you want to collaborate with people who serve your same target client, your same niche, if you will, in a complementary way or in a non competitive way. And I think what works so well about us collaborating with each other is we all serve like the online course creator, the online coach, the online expert in complementary ways. And so, while yes, like somebody on your email list, Allison, might not need to learn how to lower their lead costs with paid ads, in general, each of us represents services that our target audience like would need, and that's why it works so well. So kudos to you for picking the right people to be in this group, and to the listener too. If you're thinking about putting together a collab, really spend some time thinking about do all the collaborators serve the same type of business in a complementary way? If you start from there, then you can go well, or should go well.
Yeah. And my thought is like, if we were to do this again, how can we really dial in more on that ideal client? So, like QUÄY.jo, if you were to do this again, I wonder how it would work for you if you partnered with nothing but Facebook ads experts like yourself. You guys just had like different perspectives on ads. So, would that give you like better conversions? Does it make sense for us to like niche down even harder and being even more specific? Or does like having this kind of like step-by-step process that we had for this one make more sense? So I don't have the answer to that. I just think it's an interesting idea to think about and mull over as we do this, moving forward.
What would we do the same and what would we do a little differently?
I wanted to bring up the timing of this event as well, because I think that's a huge factor. One, we're debriefing this like a few days after it's happened, so we don't know the answers with respect to the quality of the leads, which I'm super curious about as well, Allison. And in particular because, okay, it's December 17th today as we're recording this. We sent out these emails between... Oh, I keep looking at my calendar and you guys, I put the dates wrong on my calendar all year and just found out in December. Anyways, yeah. So we did the 9th to the 13th basically, which was only like 2 weeks after Black Friday, which some of us did Black Friday campaigns. And Allison, you also had another bundle in the middle. Like, so, thinking about what else has your email list been experiencing? What else is happening in the world right now? Like, how's it feeling over there? So those are kinds of things to consider as well. And because of the timing of this, for me, I have chosen to literally send them one email, be like, thanks for buying this. I'm not going to bug you because it's December and it's crazy. See you next year, basically. So hoping, that not continuing to add to, because for me, I'm feeling like everything's very chaotic right now, and I don't feel aligned to continue to send a whole bunch of emails. Like normally when people get that product, they get like a couple of series of like, don't forget to use it because, like point at this thing, point at this thing, point at this thing, and try and engage people into it. But I'm trying a different way this time to just say, here's your thing. And then I'm going to see what I can offer in January that will be like a next step, and see what level of people are interested from this particular group. I might even only send it to people who subscribe through this and one other free bundle that I was part of this month.
I'd love to hear what you all would keep the same and change. For me, I'll just share one thing of each, like change and keep the same. I would keep the same that I had a upsell there, because I noticed for my stats, like 11% of the people took the upsell, which for me meant $68 in revenue. It was 4 people, and 4 sounds small, but again, I was getting paid to have folks get onto my list and have a quick win, because we all believe in our product and the ability for it to serve people, right? And so I definitely would keep the upsell in addition to the order bump. Looking at my order bump stats, with 44% of the people who got the main offer taking the order bump, could be time to increase that. What I would change is I did not have any follow-up email sequences. I just sent one email to deliver the course. And looking at this, I should have a sequence, that is hooked up to some email logic that says if somebody got the main $1 purchase but didn't get the order bump, then there's like a very simple, maybe like value sale kind of email sequence that gives them the opportunity to get that order bump again, because it had a few case studies as part of the value emails surrounding the benefit of that order bump.
The good news is it's not too late. It's only 4 days after the end. So you're fine. And with the holidays, like time isn't real. So send it in 2 weeks. You'll be fine.
Okay, cool. So what about the rest of you? What would you keep the same and change?
One thing I would change if doing this with 3 or more people again, is instead of, so we all had the same coupon for the whole time. So we all had 1 week as the coupon for everything. I would have Samantha, QUÄY.jo, Allison, Lacey, Kelly as the coupon codes so that we could track better, because what we were saying previously, right, was like, how do we know if Allison's audience resonates with QUÄY.jo's stuff or not? Other than going back and doing link tracking, which just sometimes gets muddled in our individual email providers, it would be a lot easier if we could look at this data and say, okay, literally all of my leads came from Lacey. There's some synergy there that we need to explore, or there's something that I can learn about my list there. Also, it may surprise listeners to know that this is the first time we've all 5 been in the same room at the same time. Of course, virtual room, but we did everything asynchronous. And there were times where I was like, this is taking up more time than if we were to just sit down for 20 minutes one day and like all get on the same page. But I don't think it was detrimental to the success of the collab.
Very good point you share. I like the naming the coupons after each other's names so we can track.
I guess I can go next. So I did like the number of people that we had. I feel like it worked really well, where it was like, okay, 4 emails, 1 per person. And then the wrap up worked really well, where I personally saw like a lot of sales coming in on wrap up day. Now, whether they were from a different email or from the wrap up itself, like I felt that was really good. And I was curious to hear like where are your people now? The people that came in, like what are they experiencing? My people are going through a 9 email funnel. It's heavily value based, and then it does tease into one of my additional offers. And now for my email list, something that I like to do after a promo like this is I just like to hit them with value. And sometimes I'll even throw in like a free resource, like after Black Friday, I gave them like a template for my course and said, because you stuck around, you hung out with me for this sale, like here's a freebie for being there. So that's something that I personally like to do. And in terms of something I'd change, I probably would like to be able to test more. We pulled this together really quick and was really good, but there was a couple things that I hadn't tested that I was like, I'm sure they'll work fine. And then I found out, oops, there was something wrong. And people were really gracious. They let me know, hey, I ordered this and it didn't come through. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry for your trouble. Let me troubleshoot this with you. We troubleshoot it. And then I was like, and by the way, here's a free course. So those are just some things I like to surprise and delight a lot. So yeah, that's my.
I would change my order bump. So I sold one out of the 25 people who bought the dollar product. And I think a couple of things happened. Number one, it was $37 as opposed to y'all's, which was like $7 or $9. And I didn't fully think that through, that like someone who's spending $1 on something, adding 27 is like a harder sell than like adding something that's 7. So I would change the product to be a less expensive product. I also, QUÄY.jo sharing my page right now, I didn't have like on the page, on the checkout page, like a box you click to add it. It was basically like a tripwire. So they would buy and then they get redirected to a page where they could like add it again to their cart instead of, right, see what you got going on, instead of like being able to actually click directly on that checkout page. And that was something I was experimenting with. I wasn't sure if, sometimes it's a lot of words. So the bump offers, sometimes they don't get seen, and I didn't want to contribute to like more words. So I wanted to try that. And on the like second page that pops up, it's all video. So I wanted to see if that worked better, and it didn't. So now I have that data and I can move forward with that. And that's wonderful. But something I would not change is I liked the flow. I know I brought up that like maybe we should consider like going deeper on a specific topic, but I liked the 5 different perspectives because y'all have very different perspectives than me. And I think that's wonderful. And you're very good at different things than I am. And I think that while maybe the conversions maybe from my list weren't as good as I thought they should be, that the people who did come into y'all's products from my list, they need those things and I can't provide that for them. So I felt like it was doing them a service to get you in front of them so that they can get help in your specific zones of genius.
I feel like I answered that with what I was starting with, but around the timing. The timing is maybe something to consider changing, not doing it right off the back of other big sales things that are happening in our world. So maybe coordinating a little more in advance. I mean, we knew we were doing this a long time ago. It was like 3 months, but just like everything, we're like, okay, so tomorrow we're going to start. Let's write the emails now. Thank you, Sam and Lacey, for writing the emails.
Mostly Sam.
Big thank you. Big thank you. That was
And
huge.
ChatGPT, all 3 of you, big fans. So yeah, that for me, that's something to consider changing. And I think I would keep the same, the order bump for me, because it went really well. And the price point being $7.
Excellent. I'm thinking as I think it was Allison talking when she was like, "Oh, your audience or my audience might need something from you." Something that we could play with in the future is if we're not affiliates for each other, that might be something that would be beneficial in the future to get on our affiliate. We can always track it, and I plan to track these leads and see where they go and see potentially where they came from. Just ask you like, hey, this person bought something additional from me. Did they come from you, or you? Can I thank for this? So that's something that I might track just personally.
Yeah. So you're saying to track, because I'm thinking that would be a nightmare to get like a 25-cent affiliate commission, but perhaps tracking it so that if they buy something for $100 a month from now, that they're cookied. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and being able to track that. I like that idea a lot. I kind of to echo what Allison was saying too, I think that our individual audiences are also grateful for this. And I think that's just a testament to when you network well, the sum is greater than the sum is greater than the parts of the whole or something. What's that adage? What's the adage that I'm trying to say? But ultimately, that the result is greater than us as individuals, and I think that's the power of really great networking.
And this podcast is part of the collab too, right? So we had someone who was strong in emails, like we had the socials, we're pulling the podcast together. Like I would say this is a well-rounded collab, something that I'd be interested at least in exploring in the future with the improvements that we've made. It could be stellar.
I think that there's a lot of power in repetition too. So I have collaborated with Allison before a number of times. QUAY.jo and I did a couple of things earlier this year. And so we're starting to see our names in front of other people's audiences back and forth somewhat regularly. So there's more association, like pathways firing within our audiences too. And it's just so true that you get that trust more quickly when somebody else recommends you. So just like basically a nod towards the concept of collaboration in general and how effective that can be as a tool for building your business, building your audience at the very least. We'll see what happens further down the road as far as how that turns into like the quality leads. So maybe there's a part 2 of this to come in the future.